Janowski. The Pistons have decided who they'll pick at number 1 in tonight's NBA draft. Oklahoma State star Cade Cunningham, and he's certainly worthy of that, points out our Chiney Agwumike.
Everything you need to win at the next level, he's got it. You see at the college level, a lot of guys that have go-to moves and great moves. What Cade Cunningham has, counter moves. And those counter moves have counter moves. And that's something you learn even 4 or 5 years into the league that he's perfected now and will translate.
Chiney, co-host of Chiney Agwumike and Mike Golick Jr. on Keyshawn Johnson, Jay Williams, and Zubin Mehenti's show. Rockets are trending toward Jalen Green at 2. Cavaliers trending toward Evan Mobley at 3. NBA Draft 7 Eastern, ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern, ABC, and ESPN TV. NFL Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy says quarterback Dak Prescott will not throw for a few days as he works through that lat muscle injury. Finally, Jets rookie quarterback Zach Wilson's heading to training camp. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, he signed a 4-year, $35 million fully guaranteed contract. Wilson was the last of the unsigned first-rounders from the 2021 draft. Ahead of tomorrow's MLB trade deadline, the AL Central leading White Sox getting the second baseman they've been looking for since Nick Madrigal's season-ending injury last month. Chicago acquired Cesar Hernandez from the Indians in exchange for a pitching prospect.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
Hey, it was good to see fans out at training camp today. Absolutely loved it. It was another hot one, and that's the way it should be, but nice energy out at the practice and to watch Trevor Lawrence. So if you were one of the, I don't know, how many were there, 1,500, 2,000 people? I don't know what the limited space capacity was. I probably should have checked into that, but whatever it was, you saw what we saw in the spring. You saw what we saw yesterday, and, well, we saw it again today. Trevor Lawrence can really throw the football. And I think, you're going to get a little bit tired of us saying that, but I think the reality is it looks a bit different than what we've seen. And that's what we've said in the past, but, I mean, it's just eye-popping to see it day after day. A couple of throws, once again, that were just terrific today. The ball leaves his hand in a different way. It gets the receivers in a different way. And so that was one of the big observations out of camp. What else did we see? Well, we'll have our observations, 3 of them in about 60 seconds, coming up at 3:20, 3:25, somewhere in there. So we'll give you a little bit more in-depth from an observation standpoint of what we liked or didn't like out at practice today. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Casey, all in studio today, which is nice. It means I won't sweat through another pair of clothes or set of clothes. There'll be a lot of laundry be done out at training camp over the next couple of weeks, especially if I'm on the road with the show. It's nice and toasty out there once again. A little bit longer of a work today for the Jags. They got all the way till about noontime in front of the fans. And nice gesture after practice with footballs being thrown into the stands and some of them autographed. Trevor Lawrence autographed a couple. Josh Allen was out there. Marvin Jones. All the players, really. So a nice little touch because the fans can't sign autographs and take pictures like years past in terms of getting to the close to the players. But, hey, Trevor, you asked me when you left camp. Like, hey, what's the observation? We kind of chuckle, right?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
It's hard not to notice number 16. You're always going to notice the quarterback, but it's hard not to be impressed with number 16.
No, without a doubt. I mean, that was the biggest takeaway for me, and I think, all the fans there saw it for themselves in person. Just the way that ball leaves that guy's hand, we talked about it yesterday. It is different, and we're seeing receivers getting hit in stride. We get the sense that he's not really even strong-arming the ball. It looks like he's just doing it effortless, and we saw that today a little bit. He got a lot more first-team reps today, which was a good sign. And once again, you're in no rush to make him the starter. I get that. We're still days and days away from the first preseason game, but you saw what happens when he works with guys like Marvin Jones, when he works with guys like DJ Chark, just the kind of rapport and the kind of chemistry they already have together.
Yeah, I think, what do we mean by it? Like, I've said this to a couple of people, and I think they kind of like, yeah, okay, what do you mean? I mean, he throws a football. And there was one play in front of us, and I think a lot of people were talking about it on social media, and if you follow along with the camp practices and follow everybody, and unfortunately, we can't show a lot of that video. During the team stuff, we're not allowed to have that video, and so you just got to kind of be there or take our word for
Or
it.
you can check out Jaguars Twitter too. Sometimes
Jaguars Twitter will put one out. They'll be able, because they're shooting it all, and sometimes they'll get it approved, usually a little bit later in the day, and they'll put it out. So you're exactly right. But here's the one play we were talking about with Marvin Jones. I was standing there about the 10-yard line, so he's the ball's coming at us, and Marvin Jones catches it. But the wild thing from my eyes, at least, Austin, I think you were probably 20 yards up the field a little bit from where you were standing at the time, and you kind of didn't even know who threw it at the moment because there's a lot of traffic in front of you with offensive linemen, defensive linemen in your vision of the quarterback. But it reminded me of it was like a jugs machine had thrown it.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of that was my best, the thing I could liken it to the most. It was like, we've all seen that before, like when they take the jugs machine out and they kind of throw it up in the air for the punt return guy, or they don't really do it with the quarterbacks, the receivers down the field. They usually do it straight at the guys working on their hands and catching the ball. But this one seriously looked like they tried to throw a 40-yard pass with a jugs machine. It just was like, phew.
Yeah,
and then you look and it's like, oh, that was Trevor. Of course that was Trevor. Look at this. It's pretty wild that you notice that. And it does look different. I don't know how to describe every pass in terms of look different. The other way I said it today on Twitter was, listen, you look at a pass and you just said it. It's kind of effortless, but it gets to the target so quick. And I looked one time, it was 30 yards. It was a 30-yard pass, and it was just like, whoa. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers like, whoa. I'll be honest. It's not like, dang, that thing exploded out of his hand. It's because of the way he does. It's almost like the pitcher, if you play baseball, that pitcher you face where it's like, man, he doesn't even look like he's throwing hard. And then it gets on you. It's like sneaky fast. Kind of like that with Trevor. It's like it travels 30 yards very quickly, or at least quicker than we've seen in person out on that practice field.
I enjoy watching his demeanor too, whether it's just on air, whether it's in, teams 7-on-7. It's really cool. After he releases the ball, he always has the same demeanor. I was watching him throw on air a little bit, and he had a missed throw where he came up short. It was kind of a screen pass, and he came up a little short on it, and he missed his guy. And that reaction that he gave that pass, which wasn't a good one, and guess what? You're going to have those days. But that reaction that he had was almost identical to, the absolutely rock that he threw to Marvin Jones, the one that he had to DJ Chark. And it shows you, and it is a little different than what we're accustomed to seeing, because we had a guy in Gardner Minshew that used energy, that the celebrating, or, obviously if he missed through one, he'd be upset with himself. With this guy and Trevor Lawrence, it's more even-keeled. It's more just steady. Now, I'm not saying which one's right, which one's wrong. I think in a huddle, you want the guy who's calm, cool, collected, obviously. But I'm just saying from an observation on the sidelines, even when he has an amazing throw that could be like a Sports Center top 10 nominee, he's not even really fist pumping. He's like, oh, yeah, I know I can do that. I'm Trevor Lawrence. So that's really cool to see that the moments aren't too big for him, obviously. He doesn't get too high, and obviously if he has a bad throw, he doesn't get too low either.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. He is super even keel. It's expected, right? What comes out of his hand, he's seen it all for the last decade or more, and it's expected, to land where it is. It's unexpected for us. So, we only saw, I think, like a handful of practices in OTAs and minicamp, and now we've seen a couple here, and the fans are getting their first look at it. It's unexpected. It does not. And we kind of knew it, right? When you're looking at the draft and he's a number 1 overall pick, you're like, arm strength, yeah, really good. He can really spin it, all this stuff. Yeah, but when you see it day in, day out, we just really haven't. Again, I go back to Blaine Gabbert. Gabbert really wowed you on the practice field. He really did. He had a rifle arm. You played with him. And, he threw that seam route so good, and then he never threw it in the game was always my curiosity. It's like, my gosh, he throws that ball so well in practice, but then you never call it, or he's just reluctant to throw it in the game. And by the way, I'm going to try not to compare Trevor Lawrence and Blaine Gabbert too often, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say there was a lot of arm talent with Gabbert. You could see the arm talent. He definitely had that. Trevor Lawrence has it as well. I was thinking today, because this is new. Again, we haven't seen this kind of arm talent in a while around here, that it kind of brought me back to my trip to Cartersville. And I was talking to a high school coach in Cartersville, and they had heard about like this middle school kid coming up, And they're like, yeah, whatever. Everybody talks about the next kid coming up and how good he is. We'll see when he gets here, And he went out and joined them in it really would have been like his 8th grade year. And I think he was throwing either late in the spring or the summer at whatever workouts because he was going to be a rising freshman. Mm-hmm. And they were like, whoa. They're like, whoa. So that's kind of I feel like we're those guys.
Sure.
That were like, whoa, and then they watch it for the next 4 years. And so now that we're talking about it, the people in Cartersville, the people in Clemson that saw it for the last 3 years, and Cartersville's seen it since he was in 9th grade or 8th grade, they're not whoa anymore. They're like, it looks like Trevor's pass. We're kind of like, whoa, still. This is still like, wow, man. I mean, that just does look different. And John Shipley actually, I think, retweeted my tweet, and I think he put it pretty well. It's not a knock. Everybody has different physical abilities, right? But when the ball is coming over from other quarterbacks right now, not Trevor Lawrence, receivers are getting to a spot and kind of waiting a half a second for it, a half a beat for it, right? They're not just waiting underneath it and waiting for it to drop like I was throwing the ball, okay? That would be super disrespectful. It's just they're not turning around and boom, it's on you, and that's what Trevor Lawrence is. I thought that was very descriptive, John said, and he's right. Like, if you throw an out pass near the sideline, it's 15 yards down the field, there's a little bit of a beat where a receiver might wait for it to get to you with Beathard and with Minshew. Not the case with Trevor Lawrence. It's on you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're not throwing to the receiver. You're throwing to where the receiver is going to be. And that's what we've seen for the most part right now in training camp, which is obviously a good sign. That's what you want. That's when you're talking about your Patrick Mahomes and your Aaron Rodgers. No, they're not really throwing to their guys. They're throwing to a space where their guys can go get it. That's what makes a great quarterback. And once again, we're 2 days in. Let's see when the pads come out and everything. But so far, so good for Trevor Lawrence.
He does look super comfortable, right? I mean, again, this is a guy that's done this for so long. He's about as ready as you can be as a rookie quarterback to play at this level or whatever level. He's played a ton of football. But I will say, you're right. I thought about that as a little 20-yard route maybe. I think it was Marvin Jones on the left side, just one of the simple patterns, but he was throwing to the spot. And there were a couple defenders, and I kind of wondered for a moment, I was like, is this one going to be deflected? He didn't care who was there to catch it. Yeah. He threw it there and said, go get it. You know? And so there's that throwing guys open stuff, right? We've heard some of the defenders already talk about that over the last few months. We're going to see that more here in Jacksonville. And from the elite quarterbacks, you really see it. So there's a lot to like about what Trevor Lawrence is doing so far. It's really about as good a start as anybody could have hoped for.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's not a lot that you don't like right now with Trevor Lawrence. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And like I said, I just like the demeanor. I like the way he's carrying himself. These moments aren't too big for him. He doesn't seem to play with a lot of emotion, which I think is a good thing in a huddle. You mentioned Blaine Gabbert a little bit. Blaine was in training camp his first year. I remember. I mean, the guy had an absolutely rocket for an arm, and you could say, he got thrown in the fire a little too early. Didn't really see it coming with Dave Garrard getting cut and all that stuff. But Blaine was a very emotional player. Whether if he made a good play, he's gonna let you know about it. If it was a bad play, he's gonna let himself know about it. You just get the sense, and when we've seen this on film, throughout his college career, where Trevor's not like that. But now we're seeing it in person. We're seeing it at practice, and I think it's a cool thing to behold.
Yeah, I like when you say that. I think you've been around players at other positions too, whatever sport you're in, and there's just this. It's like their blood pressure doesn't change.
Yeah,
right. Their breathing doesn't change, and he does have a little bit of a feel of that.
And I think especially from a leader, from a quarterback standpoint, you have to have that. Like if you play on the defensive side of the ball, it's a lot more intensity. It's a lot more aggressiveness. You can turn it loose a little more, and you can get all hyped up and all that stuff. If you're an offensive lineman, you're playing in the trenches, you can get all hyped up, man. That's probably actually encouraged. But when you're the quarterback, when you're the guy, like when it goes wrong, everyone turns to you, you got to have that calm, cool demeanor. And I think some of the best quarterbacks out there have that calm, cool demeanor. And I think Trevor Lawrence does have that. And to me, I mean, you can try to coach that, but either you have it or you don't.
Yeah,
and Trevor definitely has it.
Yeah, you either breathe easy or you don't, right?
Of course,
I think that's, part of that is, in my estimation, is the speed and slowness of the game. Like when you say that, I do really think of guys like Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and there's almost like no reaction from those guys. If they score a touchdown, there's a reaction, or there might be the belt for Rodgers.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you took a shot of Aaron Rodgers, right, after he whips a pass on 2nd and 8, and just don't show the pass, but just on him. You really have no idea if he completed the pass or if he threw an incompletion or if a guy dropped it. Very few times are you going to see a lot of emotion out of Aaron Rodgers. His face kind of stays the same. Like, I can see it. I can see the tight shots that Fox has shown us and NBC and CBS for years.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of like that. The expression doesn't really change too much with Trevor. Body language doesn't really change too much. And that is not a common thing in sports. Body language is a thing that even the elite athletes have to work on, good and bad body language. And especially from that position, a lot of people react to how that guy looks and feels and slouches or doesn't. So another hidden almost attribute maybe for Trevor Lawrence, just how much that game is slow for him. The processing seems pretty slow.
Yeah, I think it's a hidden attribute.
Its processing's fast, but
exactly.
He makes it look slow.
But he makes it look slow.
Yeah.
I think it's a hidden attribute, and it's obviously a big attribute too because, yes, you have a young team, but you're pretty much thrusted to be that leader day one. So I think it's a great attribute to have, especially with such a young team here in Jacksonville.
Hey, by the way, love seeing the fans out there. A lot of Austin Lane shout-outs today.
There we go.
No doubt about
cool.
it. Hey, I was thinking of this. I appreciate the hustle, in any walk of life. I think I'd appreciate the Austin Lane hustle the last couple of days.
What do you mean?
WAPE from 6 a.m. till 10
We're
a.m.
good.
Hops out to practice for a couple hours, right? Then they're on the show, probably getting some workout in.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure.
because we have guys getting ready for fights in a couple weeks, so I'm getting up there sparring with them.
I just want to let you know, I appreciate the hustle, man.
You're all good, man.
recognize.
You're all good. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know how it goes. People say doing the radio show 3 to 6, that doesn't count as work,
Sure.
right? I know what everybody
Sometimes
says.
it doesn't feel like
You're
it.
out of Jags practice, really? That's working.
Yeah.
You get that.
In the sun it was today.
It's hot out there,
Very
man.
toasty.
There's
Very
a lot
dehydrated.
to watch.
I was dehydrated today. Yeah, I was sweating.
And make sure you drink
I know.
a lot.
For sure.
Pedialyte.
Yes, sir.
They're coming out. Did you see somebody told me the other day they have like the Gatorade Pedialyte
Gatorade
thing
Pedialyte.
now? Like,
No.
I don't think that's what it's called.
Well, I hope not. I mean, I feel like they're two separate companies.
Unless
You're
they
not trying to join
you never
forces.
know. They might have joined.
I mean,
everybody merges together now.
Well, I guess Gatorade would have probably. I feel like Gatorade's a bigger company.
But somebody was, as one of the baseball games, they said it was like Gatorade Pedialyte or their version of it. And they're like, it's just okay, but they come out with something.
Are you talking about the 24? The power
that's
or the Gatorade 24?
It might be. I don't know. That's what they just told me.
Well,
I didn't
remember-
even see the bottle, really.
So you remember we had that though last year at the Super Bowl, or 2 years ago it would have been at the Super Bowl. Remember they debuted those Gatorade 24 things?
I do remember that.
Yeah, they weren't that good.
Yeah,
remember
I
we tried
remember
them? Yeah.
That's
super
right.
like salty and sugar.
So it's really
I
not
think
that
it might have
new,
been that.
probably. It could be
But keep in mind that they weren't selling those when those debuted at the Super Bowl.
Okay,
those
that
were
was
like
their testing.
exclusive. Yeah, they're trying them on us.
All right. Yeah.
We were like patient zeros.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Very good. By the way, James Robinson said he lost about 4 pounds in practice yesterday.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, that's actually kind of light, really, for running backs. Probably won't lose as much as like an offensive or defensive lineman. And caught up with James Robinson, so you can hear that. That's coming up football at 5 today. We'll have that. We'll have more Trevor talk a little bit down the road. We got our observations, too. Big moment last night in the Olympics. Caleb Dressel got it done. I mean, really emotional. What a scene that was. I don't know if you watched it. There were a couple of great swims last night. I used to swim a lot competitively, so I do like the swimming. Never close to that kind of level, by the way. Never, like ever. Should even say it in the same sentence. But I really do appreciate the swimming. And, I mean, Katie Ledecky in that relay, even though they finished silver, I don't know if you were watching that. That was terrific swim. I mean, you talk about, you can tell, it's hard to tell when a swimmer's leaving it out there.
Yeah.
Because they make it look kind of easy and they all look so good and so fast and so smooth. But you could tell she was leaving it out there after all the swims that she's already had. I thought that was cool. Caleb Dressel, real quick. I tweeted this last night, and I said, if this was like back home in Rhode Island, if this was probably Iola, Scandinavia, where you're from, and Caleb Dressel is the best swimmer on the planet.
Yes.
That's not like an exaggeration. Like he is widely considered the best swimmer. He's Michael Phelps.
He's also the fastest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you win the 100, right, you're considered. Well, there's a 50.
They're 52.
But he doesn't do the 50.
I don't know if he's doing the
I
50.
mean, I feel like the 50 is just, okay, can you jump off the board well, and then you're good to go.
Yeah,
or
well,
the
that's where he's
platform.
actually really good.
Yeah.
His starts are unbelievable.
But I still feel like the 100, like there's a little more skill involved.
Yeah, you got to turn once.
Yeah.
But
But anyways,
a little more
one of the
endurance.
fastest swimmers, regardless.
The bottom line is he's Michael Phelps of now. Okay, so everybody knows what Michael. And I'm not saying he's going to be considered Michael Phelps in terms of the landscape of swimming with all the decoration of medals and everything. But for this Olympics and for this time period, he's Michael Phelps. He's the best swimmer on the planet. And I said, it's amazing to me that he's from here. He's from Clay.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's from Green Cove Springs. And we've known that. But I have to remind myself of that. I'm from Rhode Island. Like, we've had some Olympians. I always tell, like, we had Rocco Baldelli. That was like my first story I covered in Providence when I worked there. And that was a huge story. We followed like every move he made. But you almost have to remind yourself that Caleb Dressel is from here. We have so many good athletes. We've had unbelievable athletes over the years and decades, including Bob Hayes, who won a Super Bowl and a gold medal.
Yeah.
Right? But we have to remember and celebrate these guys, these swimmers, these athletes, men, women. It's unbelievable what they're doing. And like I said, if this was Rhode Island, man, we'd have a parade for that guy like every week.
Yeah,
around here, it almost like he gets a golf clap.
No, you're not wrong. It is a little weird because, like, I'm reminded of growing up in Wisconsin, a guy by the name of Dan Jensen, who was a speed skater.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, he was a legend.
I mean, he was a star.
Yeah,
man.
but he was like a legend, like, in Wisconsin. And I'll be honest, I never watched an ounce of speed skating growing up, but like I even knew who Dan Jansen was, and then he had his own like speed skating center named after Milwaukee. But like
Didn't
he grew
do,
up
like the big commercial. Wasn't there a big commercial thing that he did?
Maybe.
Well, like I think they really pushed him as one of the stars of one of the Olympics back then.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, I guess I think it says here in 92.
92, that makes sense.
He took home a gold medal. But keep in mind, I was what? I would have been 5.
Yeah, you were really
so like,
young.
I don't even know, but I still grew up knowing who Dan Jansen
That's cool.
was. But like I get the same sense. You know, with athletes from here, it's like, I don't know if it's just because you have so much going on with the Jaguars and all that, but man, when you have one of the best swimmers in the world, if not the best swimmer in the world, that dude's got to be celebrated.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, listen, people have. Ryan Murphy, we've talked about, we've celebrated, we mentioned names. It's almost, we have so many good athletes from around here that it does sometimes feel like, it's just another great athlete from around here. True. And I think we do have to stop and pause and remember, I mean, this is the collection of the greatest athletes doing their thing right now, you know?
Yeah.
And he's doing it, and at the end of these games, we'll have done it better than anybody, most likely. And one other thing, I will say some of the swimmers, even Ryan Murphy, when he finished, he got the bronze.
Yeah.
And he had 1 gold, and the U.S. had dominated backstroke over the last, like, decade or 3 Olympics, whatever it is. And Dressel, too. You can, with all the Simone Biles talk, you can see the pressure that these guys are under to deliver. Like, I thought the disappointment on Ryan Murphy's face, even though he had a good race and he just got edged out and he won bronze, I thought it said a lot. Like, he was pissed, but he wore it. Dressel last night, it's almost like they can't even enjoy it too much. First, he's got 17 more swims to come, but it's like almost relief.
Yeah.
To get gold, that's how good these guys are. But I think it does showcase the pressure they're under.
Yeah.
And I think our local guys have felt it too in the pool.
For sure. Listen, and by the way, they in terms of endorsements, there should be a lot coming, because if they endorse any kind of supplement to get my abs to look like that,
I know.
Oh, Brent, I'm taking 2 doses a day.
He is a freak of nature, by the way. I mean, he is like, swimmers used to be skinny, big torso. Like,
tell you what,
this guy, I mean, looks like he's going to wrestle AEW
I tell you
after
what, man,
this.
ESPN The Body Issue, you're doing yourself a disservice. You don't get that guy on the cover, because that dude's ripped.
He is ripped.
Juice to the gills. And I mean that in a good way. In a great way. Yes.
Well, we'll keep you updated on Caleb Dressel, but it's a cool story developing at the 2020 Tokyo Games, 2021, however you want to say it.
Can we call it 221? I mean, why are we calling it 2020? But they're I know.
Observations from camp coming up next. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert Forecast on ESPN 690.
Partly cloudy, hot, and humid today. A few afternoon storms develop, but pretty hit and miss with highs in the low to mid-90s, dropping into the low to mid-70s tonight. And a hot Friday with sunshine and just an isolated afternoon storm with temperatures into the mid-90s. I'm TV meteorologist Mike Burrish. Join me today beginning at 5 p.m. on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Save thousands right now with Beard's unbeatable deals.
Injuries on the job can cause you to lose control. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. Money is not coming in and your medical bills are piling up. Our legal team is here to help. We can help you file all your workers' compensation claims to make sure you get the proper benefits you're entitled to. If you've been injured on the job, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation and take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
We are into that travel, baseball, and softball season now for the kids, and with that, we need a reliable car, and we need folks that are tremendous at customer service just in case we need their help. Well, the place to go is Fields Auto Group. That's what we did. My wife loves leasing her Cadillac XT6 from Fields Cadillac, part of the Fields Auto Group. It's safe. We can trust Fields Auto Group, and hey, it's luxury for less while you're on the road. Fields Cadillac Jacksonville and St. Augustine are part of the Fields Auto Group family. There's also Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. It's luxury for less at all Fields Auto Group locations in Jacksonville. Plus, you'll also be part of their exclusive Fields Amenities program, where you get complimentary loaners, car washes, and cafes. We've tried the loaner program, gone in for routine service, and every experience with Fields Auto Group has been first class. Whatever you're driving, see Fields and step up to luxury for less. Check out their locations around Jacksonville. Just visit fieldsauto.com.
Anyone can talk like they're a big dog, but few actually walk the talk. We're not the only plumbing company claiming same-day water heater service. In fact, a lot of customers have called us after other companies failed to come through on their same-day service talk. Fortunately, Griffin Service delivers. We eat big dogs for lunch. And we fix what others can't. Some of that's knowing the science, engineering, and craft of AC and plumbing better than the Bubbas, but it's also better planning. The key to actually doing same-day water heater replacement is having water heaters in stock and ready to go. And that's what we do. Gas, electric, tank, tankless, we got them all in stock and ready to roll for you. So if you want to avoid the bait-and-switch turd bucket tactics of the Bubbas, or if you discover you're in the middle of an all-talk, no-walk situation with a wannabe, well, you know who to call, right?
GriffinService.com.
CMC 1250697.
ESPN 690 is home for the Florida Sportsman Fishing Show hosted by Captain Rick Riles. Tune in every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. to find out what's biting now. Fishing so fresh, you can almost smell it.
Where else can you get luncheon, brunchin', boozin' specials? Only one place, at Colhane's Irish Pub at Atlantic Beach and on the south side. It's as Irish as you can get, owned by 4 Irish sisters. And they've got fish and chips, of course, shepherd's pie. Go today for lunch or dinner. Eat in, order out. ColhainesIrishPub.com for the full menu. And try the new 5 Sisters vodka at happy hour. Luncheon, brunchin', boozin' specials, and so much more. 2 locations, Atlantic Beach and the south side. Colhane's Irish Pub, Irish Sass with 5-star class.
Are you looking for a venue to celebrate your special occasion that guests can't stop talking about? Call Riverside North Special Events and Banquet Hall. We specialize in anniversaries, weddings, birthday parties, corporate meetings, family reunions, fundraisers, graduations, and funerals. This unique, all-inclusive, full-service venue is the way to go. Call us today at 354-4162 and let us book your next event. All proceeds from bookings benefit the Clara White Mission.
After a long day, having my dogs greet me at the door with their silly smiles and wagging tails makes me happy. I want to keep that joy with me for years to come. That's why I trust Forever Vets Animal Hospital to keep my pets healthy. Forever Vets was voted 2019's best vet in Jacksonville Magazine's Readers Poll, and it's easy to see why. The affordable wellness plans are tailored to meet all of your pet's changing needs as they grow. Open 7 days a week, Forever Vets friendly staff is available to treat you and your pet with care. They combine extended hours with online booking to allow you to give your pet quality care while accommodating your schedule. Go online to forevervets.com to find which of their 9 locations is nearest you. And don't forget their newest location in Bartram Market. Forever Vets Animal Hospital, keeping your pets happy and healthy forever.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks. There's a good chance you have a smart speaker, so use it with ESPN 690. Stay up to date on the Jags and all things sports by telling Alexa or Google to play ESPN 690. It's as easy as that. Make sure you listen weekdays 3 until 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Well, I mean, it's way harder than what I've been used to. I've been out in LA. It's not as taxing as this. The weather's kind of fair out there. Down here, this reminds me of my college days, being back at Miami, and it's hot. So you really got to take care of yourself, have a process. You go home, take care of yourself, eat right, sleep right, and you should be okay.
Rayshawn Jenkins. That's a player I'm excited to see. My eyes went his way a little bit today. More to those guys in the secondary. I'll tell you what, Sidney Jones. I should have just put this in my observation, but Sidney Jones made a really nice play. Again, some of these plays, like I'm sorry to say it, and not show it, but I mean, I'm trying to share with what we got, and we can't really. We don't have video of this, but that was a nice pick.
Well, and to be fair, I think the Jaguars PR department would be doing themselves a disservice if they don't post that video later on sometime. I mean, it was a fantastic play by Sidney Jones.
Well, and by the way, and sometimes, let's just be honest here, teams will sometimes control a little bit of the narrative. Say it is Lawrence who's throwing the pick, right?
Sure.
Or Minshew throwing the pick. I don't think they have to control any narrative with C.J. Beathard. And by the way, on top of that, highlight a good play. I mean, your defense stunk last year, and Sidney Jones made a heck of a play. I mean, it was a really nice play.
I would probably say it was the play of the day. I mean,
well, no doubt.
Aside from some nice Trevor Lawrence throws, but like in terms of like just skill, that was the play of the day.
And it was kind of this play that was like over the middle. It wasn't like one of those things down the field where like he hit it to himself, but he hit it to himself kind of falling down across the middle and like a little bit of no man's land. It was just a really nice play by Sidney Jones, who flashed last year. And the Jags brought him back, adds to the depth at the corner position, which I like. I like their depth at the corner position. We'll hear from Rayshawn Jenkins today. He talked to the media. James Robinson talked to the media. I also caught up with James one-on-one. You'll hear that a little bit later on, football at 5. We do observations from camp. Again, a little something to give you that if you can't get out there, here's what's happening. But also, if you do get out there, you might want to take a look at this as well the next time you go. Or when you see the Jags play in a preseason game. So let's do it like we did yesterday in 60 seconds or less, really. Say, hey, 3 observations that we saw, and then we can talk a little bit more about them. Austin Lane, you were out there on day 2. What did you see?
I mean, I got to go Trevor Lawrence first, okay?
I love it. That's 2 days in a row.
I mean, what do you want me to do?
If Trevor Lawrence is the observation every single day, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost reaching Kyler Murray checkmarker plus status right now. You know what I'm saying? Or minus.
I'll get a Trevor shirt.
I'm just saying, and I'll take 2 of them. So, no, but I have Trevor Lawrence. Got his starting reps today upped a little bit, which was great to see. Going with the ones a little more, look comfortable, look poised.
You know what? I looked a little bit more on the depth of this football team and what they're throwing out there. There's been a lot of talk this year, offseason, about Walker Little. A lot of people like Walker Little. And I looked at Walker Little a little bit, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, oh, wow, unbelievable. But I thought their second rotation out there, a second team, was like Walker Little and Will Richardson was on the right tackle spot. Okay, so I'm looking at the depth of that offensive line. The big question marks the Jags have right now are those offensive tackles on that line. Can Cam Robinson play well? Can Jawan Taylor play well this year? And so my eyes are on more Walker Little than Will Richardson. But I noticed those guys. We'll talk more about that offensive line in a bit.
Yeah. So that's the first one. Okay, we going 3 of them right away?
Absolutely.
All right. Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne in the receiving game, I was skeptic, obviously, because formerly he's a running back. You saw him out of the slot a little bit today. You saw him out of motion. And you see the potential in him. You know, I mean, keep in mind, we're talking day 2 of training camp, and he looked comfortable out there. You know, his hands and feet looked on point. They're working together, not working against him, which is what you want to see in a wide receiver. And listen, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here in terms of fantasy outlook and all of that stuff, because I think it still will be the James Robinson show as well. But I'm very excited, since I've seen it in person now, how they're going to use Travis Etienne, because he's not just a glorified running back that can maybe go on the slot every once in a while. It looks like he belongs split out wide as well.
Let's stay here, okay, with Travis Etienne. Those were 3 observations. We talk a little bit more about him. And let's start with Etienne, because I think he had a really good day today. I think most people that were out there are kind of on that same wavelength. Like, hey, that looked pretty good. It's hard for a running back at this stage of camp to really, too much about it, right? No pads on for running backs, no pads on for linebackers, no pads on for the guys in the trenches. That's really tough. Well, our eyes take us to the quarterback, the receivers, the corners, guys that are making plays on the ball, essentially. But even the footwork, even the shiftiness, the speed of Travis Etienne was on display. And I say this all the time. I'm going to be consistent with this, and I hope I'm right about it. Travis Etienne, to me, was a pick that I would never have thought the Jags would have taken in April with the 25th overall selection. But when they did, and as they did, and as that night went on, not just days and days and seeing him on the field, as that night went on, I remember thinking, man, Urban Meyer is going to know how to use that guy. And that guy is going to be dynamic in this offense. And no, I don't think that means James Robinson should be traded to the Rams or James Robinson isn't going to get touches. I think James Robinson is going to get plenty of touches. I think he's going to be a big part of the offense. Hope he has just as big a year. But I think the playmaker that makes this offense maybe more dynamic or even more dynamic than it could have been definitely will be ETN because he will be all over the place on that offense. LaVisca can do some of that too, but ETN in a different way, and then the home run ball. Urban Meyer's talked about it. The Jags need more of it. He has game-breaking ability. Travis Etienne was on display today.
Yeah, obviously with Travis Etienne, I was skeptical when the Jaguars selected him. And I'll be honest, I'm still skeptical until I see him in pads in his first game. What does that mean? I guess the reason why I was skeptical because I understand Urban Meyer, offensive guru, and he has plans for Travis Etienne. But just because you have plans for somebody doesn't mean, well, they can fill in that role right away. I kind of foresaw a little bit of, okay, he's going to play in the slot, maybe play on the outside of the receiver position, but it could take him some time to get acquainted with that because he is used to taking, balls in the backfield as opposed to, lining out wide as a wide receiver. I think today we saw glimpses of this guy can go in the slot. This guy can go in motion and be a dynamic threat. And I think with Travis Etienne, because we saw the shiftiness, we saw the explosiveness. Now, keep in mind, you can't wrap him up yet. Usually offensive guys have they have the advantage there when defensive guys can't hit or anything. But you saw the shiftiness. You saw Urban Meyer after every single catch or every single run, Urban Meyer preaching, you got to score. You got to score. And that was cool to see as well. But I think the biggest thing with Travis Etienne, it's getting this guy ball in space and see what happens.
Yeah. James Robinson, by the way, who you'll hear from a little bit later on in the show, I asked him about ETN and what that will mean and how it can make him even better. He said he worked on his speed in the offseason quite a bit. And by the way, he also was terrific catching the pass last year. He really was. Yeah. And so he can do that too. It doesn't mean like automatically Robinson's in the game, they won't throw it to him. Yeah. Don't believe that. He was very good at catching on the backfield and scored a few touchdowns as I remember it via the pass. Darrell Bevell, we have that ready, Casey? Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator of the Jags, talking about his running backs catching passes out of the backfield.
I think the thing that's important for us is all those guys can run the ball, right? And so there's some things that are harder at each position, and we want to practice the things that are hardest. And if we can practice the things that are hardest, then they will get better at them, and then those things become things that they're more comfortable with. So a lot of running backs, I was talking to James yesterday, I'm like, hey, how many catches do you have in college? And he's like, hey, we just ran power. They didn't hand me the ball or throw me the ball very much, and that's just what happens. And the more well-rounded you can make the players, the more successful our offense has a chance to be. And when you throw the ball, you got all the receivers running down, and everybody's covered. To find the running backs, they can we say make you a lot of money by taking those checkdowns.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of times the fans don't like the check down. The quarterbacks and the coaches, they love the check down. And quite honestly, I like the check down too, because if you find the right guy in the right spot, that's an 8-yard gain, a 12-yard gain, and then you do put it in a guy like Etienne's hands, well, then it could even be more than that because he can make people miss.
Well, and you better learn to like it because it's a huge competitive advantage if you have those guys in the backfield that can do that. I always say, like, if you have a tight end that's legit, like a Travis Kelce, like a Darren Waller, well, now you have a mismatch nightmare because they're too fast, they're too athletic for a linebacker to cover them. I'm sorry, they're too athletic for a linebacker to cover them, and they're too big for a safety to cover them. So, like, that's a mismatch. Same thing when we're talking about running backs out of the backfield. Do you put a linebacker on them? Do you put a safety on them? If you have guys that can be threats both in the run game and in the pass game, you have something special now. And that's where the game of football is going. A decade ago, it was about the bell cow, right? I mean, you have your Le'Veon Bells, your Maurice Jones-Drews, and they're fantastic players in their own right back in their primes. But nowadays, man, you have to be able to do everything. And if you can't, you get a third down back in there to do it for you. Well, if you have a guy like Travis Etienne who has shown capabilities running the football, and now you couple that with his ability to receive, man, you got something special there.
By the way, don't sleep on Carlos Hyde. I think he's looked pretty good the last couple of days out there, too. No, seriously, I just joke. But
he couldn't resist.
Yeah, I could.
Couldn't resist.
He seriously has looked good. Like he's caught my attention. 24 has caught my attention.
Yeah.
I tell you this. Whatever happened in the last time Hyde was here. Okay, it didn't work out. It was kind of messy. It was bad, really. But I have a belief in Urban Meyer that he gets the most out of a guy like Carlos Hyde, whatever that means. And by the way, Hyde left here and was produced.
Sure.
And he's produced at various times in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I got a feeling that's like a nice connection and marriage back together, Hyde and Urban Meyer. And I don't know exactly what the role is. I don't know how much the Jags will need him. Definitely this is more James Robinson, Travis Etienne in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Hyde will, have some flashes and signs, and whatever they're going to get it out of it. I got a feeling Urban Meyer's going to squeeze every ounce of it out of Carlos Hyde.
No, and I completely agree with you. He looks like a new person since the last time he was here. Do you think if Carlos Hyde, comes out, makes this team, has some sort of role in a positive way, is that more of a detriment to him when he was here the first time, or the coaching staff here in Jacksonville when he was here?
I got to be honest with you here. I'm not putting this one on the coaching staff.
Okay.
On the Hyde front. You got to remember, if you go back to that was Fournette, that was Yeldon, that was Hyde, that wasn't good. Mm-hmm. The whole thing it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, maybe it was a product of whatever was going on in the Jags building, but I'm not ready to take some of that off the Yeldons of the world, even the Fournettes of the world, who even admitted to some things, and also Hyde. I just think they handled themselves poorly, and probably not in the most professional way when they were here. Mm-hmm. Again, maybe it wasn't the perfect setting and situation. I'm not saying it was all ready for them to succeed, but I do think this was a little bit on them as well. But I do think we're also going to see a different Carlos Hyde here. That's really my point. True. I think we really are seeing a different Carlos Hyde in Jackson. Very unusual, too, for a player to leave and exit the way he did and end up back in the same organization.
I was shocked when he resigned. I think a lot of people were.
All right, we'll be back. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. More from our observations coming up.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
What's up, Jacksonville? I'm Casey Kurtz. Day 2 of Jacksonville Jaguars training camp is in the books, but the conversation is just getting started. Join Brenton Austin today on Action Sports Jax from 3 to 5:45. Then stick around at 5:50 for Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. The Shrimp and Charlotte Knights will play 2 today and can be heard right here on ESPN 690 and our Facebook page, ESPN 690 Jax. With still a day to go before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, big moves are happening. Starling Marte is headed to the A's, Eduardo Escobar is headed to the Brewers, and Joey Gallo is headed to the Bronx. Who will be next? The MLB trade deadline is 4 p.m. tomorrow. And who will be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft? Find out tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN. This Sports Center update sponsored by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge.
The Max Kellerman Show.
There was no one there like, hey, where's that guy we just hired? He just stopped showing up suddenly 15 years ago. So he got away with it, 650 G's. And now he's being sued. I don't know. You can't just not show up for work, but if he's not doing anything fraudulent and they're just sending him the checks, why wouldn't he just deposit it in his account?
The Max Kellerman Show, weekdays at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Watch exclusively on ESPN+.
Colon cancer. It can strike anyone. As the 3rd most common cancer, colon cancer can be prevented. A colonoscopy is the only way to detect and prevent colon cancer. Get screened. It saves lives. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more life-saving information.
At Tire Outlet, we're committed to providing our customers with professional and honest automotive recommendations. Don't believe us? Check out our reviews online and see why we're Jacksonville's preferred automotive shop.
Great guys to work with, always very helpful and affordable.
With 12 locations across Northeast Florida, Tire Outlet can help keep you and your family safe on the road, wherever you are.
Wholesale prices, premium service, Tire Outlet.
Naomi Mathis, Air Force veteran.
I'm Adam Greathouse, United States Army.
Greg Gatson, Colonel, United States Army.
When I came back home, I realized something wasn't right with me.
I was wounded as a battalion commander.
I thought I was going to be stuck there. I thought everyone forgot me.
Hi, I'm Representative Kat Kamak. This year, let's make sure our veterans get the support they need and deserve. Let's take the time to thank those who put everything on the line for us.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is Greg McGarity. The future of college football is now, and our primary goal is to position the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl and Jacksonville to be prepared for a potential college football expansion. And we need you, our local business leaders, to join our team and showcase that Jacksonville supports college football. Gator Bowl Sports has opportunities for all companies, whether you have 5 employees or 5,000. I would love to meet you and talk about our future. If you'd like to learn more, contact me at 904-798-1700.
Where else can you get luncheon, brunchin', boozin' specials? Only one place, at Culhane's Irish Pub at Atlantic Beach and on the South Side. It's as Irish as you can get, owned by 4 Irish sisters. And they've got fish and chips, of course, shepherd's pie. Go today for lunch or dinner. Eat in, order out. Culhane'sIrishPub.com for the full menu. And try the new 5 Sisters vodka at happy hour. Luncheon, brunchin', boozin' specials, and so much more. 2 locations, Atlantic Beach and the South Side. Culhane's Irish Pub, Irish sass with 5-star class.
All across the nation, we are here for our communities.
We're doing our part to get supplies where it's needed in order to fight COVID-19 together.
It feels good to be out there to assist our community.
I would like our friends and family to know that your National Guardsmen are always ready and always there.
Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more. Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I'm Alfreda Boney, founder and CEO of Perfectly Suited Career Consulting. I'm proud to be a Jags Chamber member and to serve on the advisory board of the Jacksonville Women's Business Center. The JWBC is innovating and adapting, embracing the digital transformation to serve more women in Northeast Florida. For example, we are launching the Network of Trust program that will mentor and vet female business owners, preparing them to take the next step as a company. For more information, visit JagsChamberFoundation.org.
Nurses take extraordinary care of us during what is often the most difficult and trying times in one's life. We often take for granted the service and sacrifice of these first responders. I'm Mark Anajar from the law offices of Anajar & Levine. If you are a nurse and currently face investigation or complaint under the Florida Nurse Practice Act, you are not alone. Call the law offices of Anajar & Levine at 904-600-4000 for a consultation and take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
Great values are happening now during Lowe's Pro Summer Savings. Stop by the Pro Desk and get an extra 5% off volume savings orders over $1,500. Plus, look for limited time values across the store, including tools, appliances, and other Pro essentials to help you get the job done right. Shop today at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Discount on eligible product only and reflected in quote. Terms and exclusions apply. See Pro Desk in store for details. Now through July 30th. U.S. only.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Austin Lane from Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Smart speakers are becoming part of everyday life, so why not use it to listen to the radio? Tell Alexa, Google Home, or any other speaker to play ESPN 690.
Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is 15 minutes away. It's time for Shrimp on Deck, featuring interviews from inside the clubhouse, scores from around AAA, and the Miami Marlins organization, and a preview of tonight's game. Now, here's your host, Matt Present.
Hey, the shrimp game is not on just yet. But anyway, that's a preview of things to come in about 2 hours.
Yeah, there you go.
We actually will be off a little bit early today for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Not this early.
Okay. Okay.
Another double dip. I think the shrimp have a couple of double dips coming like next Wednesday as well, so we'll probably be abbreviated. But as you know, our home for Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp baseball right here on ESPN 690. Also your home for Florida State football and basketball right here on ESPN 690. And your home for a lot of Jaguars talk and training camp day 2 in the books for the Jags. We talked about our observations. If you missed it a little bit earlier, it was Trevor Lawrence. Again, we spent really the whole first segment talking about Trevor, and we'll talk more about Trevor as the show goes on because you really just can't talk Trevor enough, and it's been pretty eye-poppingly good so far in the first couple of days. Also, we just spent a lot of time talking about Travis Etienne. He caught your attention. Really looked good out there today. He's one of the stars of the day is probably Travis Etienne wearing number 1 and playing in that backfield. James Robinson conversation coming up at 5 o'clock as I caught up with him one-on-one. The other observation that I mentioned, let me just hit on it real quick, is I mentioned Walker Little and also Will Richardson. They were the 2 tackles running out there basically with the second team. And Walker Little's a guy who's got a lot of attention here. The focus on these tackles, if you look at where things could go wrong on offense, Cam Robinson, Jawan Taylor, they have to play well. It's way too early in the first couple of days. I can't sit here and tell you, oh, yeah, they're playing pretty good. I mean, they're not even in pads, so let's not go there. But if you look at the breakdowns of that offense, and because I'm just a big believer that Trevor Lawrence is in a pretty good situation on this offense. He's got an offensive line that I think he can believe in. He's got receivers on the outside that he can believe in. He's got a couple of running backs that can be dynamic. I think he's got some pretty good coaching around him right now, quite frankly. He's got a head coach that is an offensive guy. He's got Bevel and Schottenheimer who've been around elite quarterbacks. So I think there's a lot to like about the offense. But if you think about where it could go wrong, the tight end spot's the obvious one because you really just don't have much right there. And that's it. You don't. You just don't have much. But the tackles have to play well. I mean, you can't survive as an offense if your tackles don't play well. If Cam Robinson continues to be inconsistent, if Jawan Taylor gives up 16, 18 sacks, whatever it was last year, it's going to be really hard to be a successful offense. If those guys can play solid football, hold their own, be consistent, this offense has a real good chance. But the bottom line, the moral of this story, Robinson, Taylor, a lot of eyes on them.
Absolutely. And I always talk about complementary football in terms of sometimes the secondary can help the pass rush out, and sometimes the pass rush can help the secondary out. It works hand in hand. Well, the same thing can be said for the quarterback and offensive line. If you have a great quarterback back there that you trust in and that can get the ball out in, a few seconds, that helps your O-line. That gives your O-line confidence. If you know where your quarterback is at all times, that helps the O-line at all. So, and in turn, the O-line blocks better, helps the quarterback out. I think last year we saw a little bit, and let's be honest, in terms of Gardner Minshew's play, there was some good, but there wasn't some, there was some kind of bad too, whether that was the hand injury or whatever the case may be. But it worked together in being bad with the offensive line and Gardner Minshew. This year, you can't really have that excuse. I think you have an upgrade right now at the quarterback position. You have a cohesive unit coming back that has gelled, that has worked together before, which is really big in terms of chemistry in the trenches. So there really is no excuses. So yeah, I agree with you. Like if you're Cam Robinson, this has to be a make it or lose it kind of year, because if you do falter, if Trevor Lawrence does get hit, they have the depth now to kind of take over for you.
It's going to be interesting to watch Walker Little because you've heard stuff coming out of the OTAs and the camp, and the coaching was talking about, man, this guy looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Keep in mind, he hasn't played in a couple years. COVID plus injuries, hadn't played in a couple years, yet he didn't look rusty. Very positive sign. Again, I'm not here to trumpet Walker Little. In fact, I think he's been that's been a little overdone so far since he's been drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe.
Yeah.
But if he is really good, if he is a guy that should have been a first-round pick minus the last couple of years of not playing, if he has that kind of talent, what will be really interesting to watch is his progression here in the preseason, the comfortability with the coaching staff to ride with him if needed, and then how quick do you go to the bullpen? Do you pull the plug on Jawan Taylor or specifically a Cam Robinson on that left side? Because you say, you know what? We got a better guy right behind him. We know we just franchise tagged Cam Robinson, but we've seen 4 years of the inconsistencies, so we're going to say we're better off putting Walker Little in. That could happen this year. A lot rides on Cam Robinson's consistent play because I actually think Cam's a pretty good player. I've been a fan of Cam Robinson. I think the knock on him is consistency and getting it done week in, week out, play in, play out. But a lot of that could also be determined by the play of Walker Little and just how good he looks.
Of course.
And preseason will be a big determination for that. So keep an eye on that this year. With that franchise quarterback, you want to take very little risk at him getting hit throughout the course of the season. And Cam Robinson's a big part of that. Walker Little could play. That is a fascinating thing to watch, even though I don't think there's a chance Walker Little starts the year. It's how soon could he get in there if Cam Robinson starts to slip in his play.
No, and I understand the philosophy of, hey, be careful with Walker Little. He's only a rookie, right? He didn't play last year, so like you want to ingrain him a little bit, build up his confidence. You don't want to throw him out there if he's not ready, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's not the exact same scenario here, but I look at a guy like Tristan Wirfs in Tampa Bay, rookie. Drafted, I think, mid-round or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like 11 or 12 or something like that.
But came out and made a huge difference.
Awesome.
In terms
they won the Super Bowl without him.
Of course. So, like, it just goes to show you, like, yeah, I get it. It's a hard position to be great at when you're so young, but there are exceptions. And by all indications, what we read about Walker Little, in terms of scouting and all that stuff is, if he wasn't out, he would have been a first-round pick. The Jaguars just kind of lucked into him.
Yeah, and so I think that's a story. again, I had my eyes more on the backup guys today because I know the story with Juwan Taylor and I know the story with Cam Robinson. By the way, I'm more fans in those guys than other people. They got to go get it done. I think they have the skill set to get it done. I think Juwan Taylor has the skill set to be a really good player in the league. I don't know what happened with him last year. His rookie year was better. His last year was not. They got to clean it up. They got to get better. They just have to be better. And again, we talk about Trevor Lawrence helping out maybe the receivers. Maybe he helps out the offensive line. We see a lot of good quarterbacks able to help out the offensive line. Play calling will dictate that. The running game will dictate that. It'll be something to watch for sure. We're going to talk more football coming up at 4 o'clock. Some injuries around the NFL that really catch your attention. Before we do that, though, how about our buddy Jason Christie from the Jacksonville Icemen? Did you see the news?
Going to the Sabres.
That's very cool. Yeah. It's kind of a bummer because I really like Christie, and he lives down near us, actually. His kids go to school with Ty and Kaylee. And so it's kind of bummer that they got to move away, but pretty cool. He's the winningest coach in the ECHL.
Yeah.
And the Jacksonville Icemen are looking for a new head coach because he's going to go join the Buffalo Sabres staff as an assistant.
Yeah, very cool guy. Very well deserved, and the Sabres especially. They're a young up and coming team. They've had a rough past couple of years, so they're in need of kind of a culture shift a little bit. I feel like Christie can kind of help those guys get back on track. So great for him.
Yeah, really good for him and his family. Good luck to Jason Christie. But we'll either be part of a trivia question around here, or I think the organization will always be grateful as he was the head coach of the Jacksonville Icemen. For the beginning stages of their existence. So hats off to Jason Christie. Good luck in Buffalo for sure. You better root for the Jags and not the Bills.
Now we're talking.
We'll be back. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690.
There is a taste of the islands in every drop of Vida de Luis tequila, imported directly from Tequila, Mexico to Jacksonville Beach. Vida de Luis is the only locally owned tequila in Jax Beach. Support local and try Vida de Luis. Award-winning, smooth, all natural, no aldehydes or additives, which means wake up feeling good the next morning. Find out where you can pick up a bottle of Vida de Luis, Blanco, Reposado, or Añejo. Just visit VitaDeLuis.com. Support local and taste the islands in every drop.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Pro or against? That seems to be the only thing that matters these days in the marijuana discussion. But what about the facts? At Mary, we've taken it upon ourselves to lay it all out there in our podcast. Just pure, unbiased education about medical marijuana and unlawful use of cannabis. Find it at mary.famu.edu. That's mmeri.famu.edu.
Hey, what up, everybody? It's Austin. And no matter your age, whether you're just getting out of high school or you're at a job currently that you don't really like and you want to make a new career path, well, my friends at J-Tech have the solution for you. If you're searching for a school that offers a kind of hands-on essential career training that you can move your future in the right direction with, you need to call my friends at J-Tech right now. J-Tech's going to give you all the tools needed for you to succeed in whatever field of study you choose, whether it's automotive, diesel, HVAC, marine and RV, or the transportation industry. So if you're not satisfied right now in your career path, there is no reason why you shouldn't give J-Tech a try. They offer flexible class schedules, even night classes, and every classroom features a 16-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio to get the hands-on training so you succeed in your field. To learn more about J-Tech, visit jtech.org, or better yet, give them a call at 904-483-9460. Ask for Hank to set up an appointment to tour the campus or get your questions answered. Once again, that's 904-483-9460, or visit jtech.org.
Anyone can talk like they're a big dog, but few actually walk the talk. We're not the only plumbing company claiming same-day water heater service. In fact, a lot of customers have called us after other companies failed to come through on their same-day service talk. Fortunately, Griffin Service delivers. We eat big dogs for lunch. And we fix what others can't. Some of that's knowing the science, engineering, and craft of AC and plumbing better than the Bubbas, but it's also better planning. The key to actually doing same-day water heater replacement is having water heaters in stock and ready to go. And that's what we do. Gas, electric, tank, tankless, we got them all in stock and ready to roll for you. So if you want to avoid the bait-and-switch turd bucket tactics of the Bubbas, or if you discover you're in the middle of an all-talk, no-walk situation with a wannabe, well, you know who to call, right?
GriffinService.com.
CMC 1250697.
Today is your day to save during the national sales event at Arlington Toyota. Arlington has over 700 new Toyotas available, all on sale now during the national sales event. Why buy new from Arlington? Because you get a lifetime warranty with unlimited time and unlimited miles with your purchase. And buy with total confidence thanks to Arlington's worry-free 30-day exchange policy. The national sales event is on at Arlington Toyota, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
12th Player of the Year in his only college season. ESPN's Jay Billis.
He really is a truly complete basketball player, and I think he's the best player in this draft that's going to be an all-star in the NBA and potentially an all-NBA performer in the future. He's got that kind of future ahead of him.
Coverage of the draft starts at 7 Eastern here on ESPN Radio, and it's also on ESPN and ABC TV. All of this year's NFL first-round draft picks now have contracts. Jets quarterback Zach Wilson agrees to his rookie deal today. It's worth just over $35 million for 4 years. He was the second overall pick. With her teammate Simone Biles watching from the stands, Sunisa Lee wins gold in the women's all-around. Lee is the 5th straight American woman to win the Olympic gymnastics all-around title.
What? Just 15 seconds to talk about Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea? That smooth taste of real brewed iced tea with just the right kick of alcohol? What? We started already? Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Look for it in the bright yellow cans. Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
Strong arm. He can make all the throws that I can see right now, and he's more mobile than I thought as well too. So guys coming off the edge on those zone reads and stuff, you really gotta be on your toes and stuff. So that's one thing I really noticed when he got in. He's more mobile than I thought he was.
Yeah, kind of sneaky mobility for Trevor Lawrence. Although if you watch college games, it's really not that sneaky. You can see the numbers. How much he does that in the NFL will be pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, listen, everybody seems to have the read option in the playbook. I love the read option. I think it works like every time. You know, I feel like Trevor, let me know if I'm a little crazy with the way I say this one. I feel like Trevor will be Bortles-like in running the football. I think he's more fleet of foot, but Bortles was very effective running the football. And I'm not just talking about a game here like 88 yards against Buffalo. You know, I'm not talking that. Yeah. I mean, seriously, we'd be like, I remember on social media for a while, we would be in the middle of a Sunday afternoon game, and we'd be like, run the read option. We'd be tweeting it, run the read option. We love the read option because the read option would work like every time with Bortles. It felt so good every time. But even Bortles would be able to escape, and he'd make a move on a guy, and you'd be like, oh, my gosh, he just picked up 18 yards. It looked like he was going to go for 4. Like, Bortles seriously had that ability. Like, there was like a craftiness about Bortles as a runner, even though, again, he's not going to sit there in straight line speed, outrun anybody. Mm-hmm. But he was a good athlete. And I feel like Trevor might have a little bit of that in him. Obviously, he's not as thick as Bortles was. I mean, Bortles weighing in at like 240, 245, you know. Trevor's not doing that. But Trevor's faster, you know, just from a straight line standpoint than Bortles, I think. I mean, I would say without question. So I kind of feel like we might get a little bit of that. You know, the Minshew running around is totally different.
Yes.
You know, than we're about to see from Trevor Lawrence. I just don't know how much, because listen, when you have an investment like this and a guy that can really throw the football, and that's where he's going to beat you, right? He's not going to beat you like Lamar Jackson's going to beat you with both. You really do all you can to protect him and not get hit. And he's just not super big. I mean, he's plenty big enough and durable enough, but you don't want him getting crushed.
No. What you want out of a quarterback, and I think Bortles had this when he knew how to use it, it's the fact that it's always the threat to run with the football, right? It's not so much of, okay, this guy's a super athlete. Are they going to run the read option? Is he going to take off? It's the fact that if you don't stay in your pass rush lanes, if he gets outside, he has the ability to run if he wants to. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is probably the classic example of this.
True.
Aaron Rodgers is athletic. Yeah, sure. I think he's more quick than he is fast, but he's very deceiving. But what makes such a great quarterback is not necessarily his feet. It's the fact that he's always threatening with his feet. So it keeps defenses on their heels a little more, and then obviously he has that arm talent, and he gets results. That's what makes Aaron Rodgers so great. Patrick Mahomes is another classic example. You saw when he got hurt a little bit, that kind of hampered him in terms of he hurt his mobility, not necessarily because he's running 10, 15 times a game. No, but it's his threat that he can run it if he has to. I think Blake Bortles had that. I think Trevor Lawrence can obviously have that as well.
That's a great call on, you got me thinking a little bit more on the Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. And by the way, everybody listening is saying thank you for comparing them to those guys instead of Blake Bortles. I know.
Yeah, for sure.
So far today, I've brought up Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles talking about Trevor Lawrence. Sorry, folks.
Rare error for Trevor Lawrence. Rare error.
But I think it's a good point you bring up, because Aaron Rodgers is not like fast guy.
No.
But he's very mobile guy. Big difference. And he really can chuck it on the run. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes has made some brilliant throws on the run. And I'll bring one more guy into the equation. The player that was so dynamic last year, in my estimation, that wowed me the most is when Josh Allen went on the run and would throw those plays, throw those passes to the sideline, and they'd be on the money, man. And he's another guy. He's a good athlete, big, strong-arm guy, but outside the pocket, he was scary, I think, for teams last year. So much so those guys that I just mentioned, teams will go out of their way to keep them in the pocket, even though they're great from the pocket, too. They don't want to sit there and play chase. I don't know if Trevor's that guy or not. I don't know how much they'll roll him out. I don't know how much he'll get outside the hashes and beat you. I mean, he's got the arm strength to do it. He's got the brilliance to do it, I think, with the arm. I just don't know how much they will do it. How much will that be a part of his game? I don't know if we saw that. I'm not sure people would have guessed that would have been part of Patrick Mahomes' game when he came into the league, but it has become part of his game. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch with Trevor.
I think what we're talking about with Trevor Lawrence, you don't want to see him run the read option 20 times a game with the risk of getting hurt, obviously, and taking some shots. But I think what Trevor can do is he can extend those plays, right? And that's what Rodgers does. I mean, Russell Wilson does that to an extent, but Russell Wilson also takes off for 40 yards a pop sometimes. And sometimes
different,
he takes shots, But I just think keeping plays alive, number one, and if you keep the play alive and there's nothing available, then you take off. I think Trevor Lawrence can do that. And let's be honest, if he can do that, I'm all for that. Yeah, sure, every once in a while, maybe she should slide here, slide there. But overall, it's a pretty safe place. I mean, it's a pretty safe way to play because